Okay, so thanks everyone. Welcome back to DFEND3. This is our second session. Today we'll be talking about strategies for change, motivation, and reward. But before I introduce our expert, I want to go through a few reminders. So if you haven't done so already, submit your week 1 challenge by the end of the day, either through our Facebook page or via email. Since we're in an experiment station, our UAX email hasn't converted yet, so you can send it to defend@uaex.edu. And just a reminder, the week 1 challenge was to pick one behavior you wanted to change related to sleep, nutrition, or exercise and share it. Emma should also be posting on the Facebook group, just checking in how you felt your behavior change went this week. So please comment or email about that. And then today is the last day to sign up to participate in the study. So if you haven't decided whether you want to join the DFEND study, today is the last day to do so. And you can email me anytime today with questions you may have. And the consent form and the pre-assessment can be found on our website. So if you are just joining the study for the first time, you can double up on challenges. So you can post which behavior you like to change, as well as this week's challenge, which is creating personal goals. So you can create one or more personal goals that you will keep checking in with you throughout the rest of DFEND3. We'll talk about creating SMART goals next week, but we will be posting a fact sheet on how to create a SMART goal. So you can always fine tune your goals as we progress through DFEND. And you can, again, email us if you have any questions. So today we're really happy that we have a guest speaker, Kayce Hyde. She's currently a doctoral student in the clinical psychology program at the University of Arkansas. Her research focuses on transdiagnostic factors such as self-compassion and self-criticism. She's interested in how self-compassion and self-criticism manifest in disorders of under or over control. And her other interests include emotion beliefs and emotion regulation. And in the future, she hopes to examine how self-compassion interventions can reduce self-criticism and maladaptive emotion beliefs. So she thinks she's the perfect person to speak to us on this topic today. And for those of you just joining before I turn it over to Kayce, don't forget to take advantage of our personalized coaches. We have behavior and psychology on Mondays, nutrition with our registered dietitian on Tuesdays, and physical activity with a personal trainer on Thursdays. And you can find the links on our website. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Kayce, if you want to go ahead and share yours.
Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Let's see. Now try.
There we go. Got it.
Okay, perfect.
Sweet. So I'm going to get started. Okay, there we go. So I was like, oh, the button's not doing anything. Okay, great. So I'm Kayce. Like Dr. Baum said, I'm currently a doctoral student at the U of A in clinical psychology. And today's going to be focused on strategies for change, motivation, and rewards. So what is motivation? So motivation is the process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal-oriented behaviors. There are a lot of definitions for motivation, but I like this one a lot. So in terms of the 3 different components, this activation component involves the decision to initiate the behavior. And persistence refers to the continued effort towards a goal, even if obstacles exist. And then intensity can be seen in the concentration and vigor and the effort that goes into pursuing a goal. So for example, let's say I want to run a 5K. So the activation phase might be I decide to run a 5K and I sign up for a local race if it's not pandemic times. And then persistence could be continuing to train and run even when it's really cold and I hate the cold, or on rainy days.
And then, can I interrupt you a sec? We can see your full screen, like with your example in your next slide.
Oh,
I'm not sure if, I mean, it's okay for me, but I'm not sure if.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, I'll just do it.
It's okay. We can still read the slides pretty well. It just wanted to let you know before.
Yeah, I'll just take it off of presenter view then. Let's see. Oops. It's really not cooperating. Okay, can y'all see my full slides yet or no? This is so strange.
Yes, we can see. No, we can see just how it looks like when you're building the presentation.
Oh, there we go. Okay, and
Perfect.
then
Thanks.
yeah, thank you. So this intensity component is basically like how hard you're working towards the goal. So for example, let's say this is not me, but I'm a natural runner. I might not have to try very hard to train for a 5K. It might come relatively easy to me. So I might pursue a goal with less intensity. But if you are me and you're naturally terrible at running like I am, you might have to work pretty hard to do it, maybe set up a training plan, things like that. Maybe stretch so you don't hurt yourself too after every run, things like that. So you would pursue it with more intensity. So different types of motivation exist as well. So intrinsic motivation, on the left, I have this dog that's looking at himself in the mirror saying, today is the day I can feel it. Today I will catch that tail. And then on the right, extrinsic motivation, it's a bear chasing a biker that says some days it's hard to find motivation and some days motivation finds you. So intrinsic motivation is usually the type of motivation that arises from within the individual. So for example, it was really cold this week. I worked on a puzzle purely for the personal gratification of solving it. So it's something that you do that is just inherently rewarding to you for no other reason, but you really enjoy doing it. So you can kind of think of things that you enjoy the process of just as much as you, or if not more, than you enjoy the result. And then extrinsic motivation, these are outside of the individuals. Usually people think of these as rewards of some sort. So trophies, money, social recognition, praise, grades even count as extrinsic motivators. So one thing that I want to really harp on here is that motivation is not stable. I mean, I think we've all experienced this, like maybe thinking about that 5K example, when we first sign up for the 5K, we're like ready to go. We're going to run every single day of the week. And then it's day 2, you're really sore, everything hurts. And you're like, why did I decide to run this 5K? I don't want to get out of bed. It's like my legs hurt too much to move. So fluctuations in motivation are really normal. So just in thinking about health goals or how to help other people or even yourself reach different health goals, really it's important to normalize that motivation does not just stay high all the time. It naturally goes up and down over time, depending on what else you've got going on in your life. So what do you do when your motivation is low? So one thing you can do is just wait for something external to improve our mood. So we can just wait around, wait for a beautiful sunny day, all the snow to melt before we go on that run again. Or we can just hope someday we'll get really well rested, or that a friend might happenstantially call us up and be like, hey, let's go for a run. So we can definitely do that. Sometimes just naturally something in our environment happens that helps our mood to increase. But this can be a pretty passive strategy. And when we're waiting and waiting for our motivation to come back, it can leave us feeling kind of helpless and at the whims of our motivation. So another thing that you can do when your motivation is low is to increase your level of activity, even if you don't feel like it to begin with. So in psychology, we call this behavioral activation. So you can think about a time where you've really not wanted to do something. Like, for example, today I really did not want to do my laundry. But once I started to do my laundry, I was like, oh, this isn't so bad after all. And I finished and I folded my laundry and put it all away. And I was like, oh, look at me go. And so that could happen too with your goals. So sometimes just starting it, even if you don't feel like it to begin with, all of a sudden you can find that your motivation has come back to you. And it might not be right in one day. So I want to make that clear. Sometimes it's going at it again and again and again, and then over time your motivation might slowly rise back up. So sometimes you might be lucky enough for it to be like me and my laundry, your motivation comes back right away as soon as you start. But other times it's okay if it's a little bit slower to creep back up. The idea is just to keep going. And I liken this, when I talk to clients about this, to like a big heavy ball on like a flat road. So when you first start trying to push that big, heavy ball, it's gonna take a lot of like strength and pressure. It's really, really hard to get that ball going. But once that ball gets rolling, all of a sudden you're barely having to do anything at all. The ball is rolling on your own. And that ball is like your motivation. Once you literally get your motivation ball rolling, it's really easy to keep it going. It's just that bit at first when it's totally still, so that's hard to get it started. So I'm going to share with you my keys to success with motivation. So number one, start small, but not too small. And the reason I say start small is probably obvious to each of you. If you start too big, it's really easy to get discouraged quite quickly. So I have a feeling that's probably going to be covered in this week's SMART goals that they referenced earlier. But you don't want to overwhelm yourself or set yourself up to fail, because that can make it really hard to get yourself to try again. But you also don't want to start too small, because if it's too small, it's almost too easy. And then there's no sense of like reward or achievement or accomplishment after the fact. So you want to kind of start in this like, for your goals in this more like learning to growth zone. You don't want to start where you're too comfortable, and you don't want to start where you're super scared and don't have the tools that you need. So more so in that learning and growth zone. And then you also want to make sure you break down large tasks down into smaller, more manageable chunks. So running a 5K is huge. I am not just going to go out and run a 5K. As I've confessed to you all, I'm not a natural runner. So I can't just expect that next week I'm going to go run this 5K. But I could do that maybe a couple months down the road if I create a training plan. If maybe day one, I just walk literally a mile, just walking a mile. And then maybe for the next several days, I keep walking that mile, but maybe I pick up the pace, power walk a little. And then maybe day 5, I try to run for 5 minutes, walk for 5 minutes, and see how that goes. That's much more manageable and easier to tackle if you break it down. And then you also want to make sure that you're using rewards. So something that I've been doing too is after work, like probably all of you, I'm very tired, and all I want to do is go like plop horizontally in front of my TV. But I've also been in front of a screen literally all day. And so I want to give myself a break in screen time at the end of my day and do something a little bit more active. So what I've done with myself is after I do 20 minutes of yoga after work, I can watch TV. So I reward myself for doing the yoga, which is good for me, but I don't always want to do it, with the TV. So rewards are a great way to do that. Also, you can kind of incorporate it into the activity too. You can be kind of creative with it. Like, for example, my neighbor, who's also a good friend of mine, Anna, and I will go on walks together because it's more rewarding for me to go on a walk if I get to also talk to my good friend and neighbor. And then also rewards can be something super simple too. Like, I don't know if there's anyone out here like this, but that gets a lot of satisfaction of like checking something off a list. Anyone else besides me love checking things off? It's great. I don't know what it is. So rewards, big and small. And also, when you find your motivation is waning, you can also remind yourself of the why. So why did you want to do this task in the first place? And if as you're asking yourself and trying to remember your why, you're realizing maybe I wasn't that interested in running a 5K after all. Maybe if what I really want is to go on neighborhood walks with my friends, then in that case, you might want to change your goal a little bit to something that's more in line with your values. But maybe really a 5K is something you've always wanted to do, just to show yourself that you could do it. So reminding yourself of that why can kind of help you fuel the fire of your intrinsic motivation again. And then last, because I had to throw this in there, it's totally my research, is be kind to yourself. So research shows that people who kind of beat themselves up at failures are really like self-critical and mean to themselves, tend to have less resilience and persist less in meeting their goals. So it turns out when you treat yourself like you would a good friend, because often we're nicer to other people than we are to ourselves, that it's actually easier to pick ourselves back up in the face of obstacles and maybe even failures or stumbling blocks too. And it's easier to learn and grow from those things. So self-compassion is associated with more resilience and empathy and adaptive coping. So, and the ability to grow from your mistakes. So definitely want to leave you with the reminder to be kind to yourself. So those are my keys to success. And then last, I wanted to link some resources here that you could follow up on. I believe the PowerPoint's being posted on the website. So the top link is just more information about how to get your motivation going when your motivation is low. And so is the second one about when you have no motivation, what the heck are you supposed to do? If you want to learn more about that. And then number 3 just tells you more about kind of understanding what motivation is if you want to learn more about that. And then the 4th link is exercises to practice self-compassion. So if you find as you're pursuing your goals, you find yourself sounding kind of like a bully, and it's kind of getting in the way of you meeting your goals, I would really recommend doing some of these practices. They both have them like written out and like little 5-minute Minio audio recordings, and both can be really, really helpful. And they're all really like user-friendly and easy to navigate too. So that's all I got for today. Short and sweet.